Good morning,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Is the slide is visible in a slide mode? Yes? Just confirm me.
Yes, ma'am. Visible.
Okay, okay, okay. We'll just start within 2 minutes, okay? Good morning, students. So let us start with our whatever the class. Any doubts you can always ask to me. Okay. So to begin with, we'll just recap what we have done. We are in a last class. Am I audible? Is it fine? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, now? Okay, okay. Fine. So, in the last class, we have dealt some examples on all these topics, basically the constructor or the default constructors and overloading of that and so on. Okay. So, and we have seen what are the difference between a friend function, friend class, and so on. Okay. Just to recap them, what it is. Why I'm showing this, because when you recollect, it will be you can memorize more. Okay, so it will be easier to memorize. So this is the one diagram which I'll be showing you in many classes. So this is nothing but you whenever you declare a class, it will be the container for us. You can think of. So there are the partitions for the data, how you can declare them and how the function can be accessed to them. So all your data which is declared in a private area can be accessed by the public function or through the public functions. And if you wanted to give access to others or other class or some other, we'll see some other concept in this, then this can be accessed by the other class or other way of getting this data. Okay, so these data can be available in the outside this world. Okay, so this is more contained within the class. So this is one more diagram which you have already seen, but just I wanted always to recollect this. So whenever object is created, you are making a data a separation. So you have a data encapsulation for each of them. Each of them you are creating a memory allocation for the variable, say, but there is only one copy for the functions what you declared. Okay. Now, this is the one concept what we have done in a last class. So you can see what is the default constructor is nothing but it doesn't have any parameters. Either the user defined can be done whenever object is created. We have seen in the last class, whenever object is created, if it is already defined by the programmer, it will be called. Otherwise, it will be the compiler is going to get a one more default constructor. Okay, it will generate and it will create an object for this. Okay, initialize. Usually, all the constructor we use it for initializing these data whichever we declared. Okay, so this is user defined where there is no parameter, so we call this as a default constructor. Okay, so whenever we have some parameters to this, so this is something like a constructor overloading. So what is a constructor? It should have the same name as a class. Okay, and I can have a multiple constructor which has a different signature. Signature is nothing but it is the parameter what I'm going to send to this. Okay, so this is known as parameterized constructor, or it is also concept where we have a constructor overloading. So there will be one more concept which is nothing but a destructor. Again, it should be same name as the class, but it is first it is started with the tilde. We call this as a wave kind of tilde. So this is the makes a difference between a default constructor and your destructor. And you can observe here, I can have many constructors, but there will be only one destructor. Okay, so this cannot be having a overloading for that. Okay, and basically this is for when the object is created, memory is allocated, so we want to remove that, release that memory. So that is where the destructor is coming to picture. Okay, and when it is called, whenever is object is going to be out of scope of that program, it will be called for that. Okay, now with this concept we have seen some more understanding with the friend function. So friend function is nothing but you have to declare within a class. Okay, so you have to declare what is that function with the keyword as a friend. Okay, and mainly it is useful for when I wanted to work with multiple classes or something. So I'm declaring both of the place as a friend. The same function is declared as a friend in both of them. And remember, this function definition you are just declared here, but the definition how you are going to implement that all will be declared outside the class. Okay, container. And remember, there is no scope resolution attached to this because it is also friend for this, it is also friend for this. Okay, so that is main difference. Usually whenever you are writing a function, member function of a class A outside the class this one, you have to write a scope resolution, the class name attached with the scope resolution, but that is missing in the case of friend. Okay, so remember this concept. So this can access the all the members of your class whichever you declared as a friend here. Okay, so this is what we have seen in a last class. So one more important information, friend, this is a function here. So this will be the class. Whole class can be declared as a friend of another. Okay, so what is done in this case? You are declaring a class, whichever class you want as a friend. So what is the advantage of this? Now I need not write this outside. Okay, so I can access always this class. Okay, as an object, as if it is its own class or kind the child kind of. So it can recognize. I don't use that.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, could you please start the recording?
Oh, so sorry for that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for remembering that. Okay, I started the recording. Okay, so in the friend class, what is done here, in the whatever we have the one class, whichever we have as a class A, in this class A, we just declared this as a keyword with a friend. But observe, it is a class here. Okay, it is next line, whatever value is a class, as it is deferred in the friend function. Okay, so we have the return type here. Okay, and the function name here. In case of friend class declaration, you will be having a friend keyword followed by the which class you wanted to declare. Okay, and the advantage is that you can access this whole container from the class B. Okay, but that is not true can I access all the values from the class, this class B? Though you made class A, okay, you made this class B as a friend of this, okay. So I can access everything of a class A from the class B. But this is not true that your class A can access all the values here, okay. That is not mutually available, okay. So you should remember this. Until now, if I want to make this, you have to declare here also, okay. So the friend class, you have to declare here, okay. Now the class B, under the class B, you have to declare this also as a friend. Then I can access. If you don't put that word, then you can't access the content of your class B from the class A, okay. So it is not mutual, okay. So you require to explicitly tell the who is the friend of that and what they can access, okay. So that is the important one. So most of your MCQ, sometimes they may be asking this kind of concept. Okay. So then we saw a little bit about the pointer. This pointer is very important when I go with the accessing the member indirectly, or when I'm creating a object dynamically creating or accessing them. Then this pointer is very important. Okay. So you can see this in this case, the variable, the one whatever the name you have given for the variable. Whenever this is the usual way of declaring, but I can access this information, whatever you declared, by the address of that also. So that is nothing but pointer ability. So how you can access this is ampersand. Ampersand is nothing but you are trying to say this, whatever address of this is being stored here. Okay. And now I can directly access and I can modify this. So either I can use address of address. This is a second kind of, okay. You are trying to put in this. Again, address of this has been passed here. Okay. So address of address. Okay. It is an indirect way of accessing the memory. So be careful with this pointer. Pointer is more powerful. If you don't use it properly, then the program can have a different outputs for us. Okay. So this is what we have done in the last class. So in today's class, we will be dealing more with the copy constructor. I have to tell many concept with the copy constructors, and there are some example which we'll be seeing with the dynamic operation, that is like a new and delete and all that. And then we will go ahead with the operator overloading. We already seen the constructor overloading or the function overloading. Now what is this operator overloading? It's similar to that, but there are some constraints and we'll see that. Okay. I hope that is any doubt in up to now. Any doubts if you have, you can always ask. Is there any doubt in whatever we covered yet, whatever we have done now?
No.
Okay. So with this, we'll start our content. So before we go, we'll just see what we can see from the brain programming. Okay. So now last class, we have seen a kind of understanding that any thought, whenever we generate, it can activate a brain cell. Okay. So how? Again, it is nothing but we are trying to, we'll see that how we can do it. And in the last class, we also seen when we collect the data, the way we store the data compared to the computer, it is just the ones and zeros in the computer. But in case of human brain, we store in different dimension. Okay. So because we collect, I can see this as a sensors. Okay. So various sensors are there. We perceive, we collect the data. Okay. Now today we'll talk about how we perceive the information. Though if I call this as a data, okay, this is a data collector, it's a sensor for me, right? So though I have the same data, do we perceive them in the same way? It is not, okay. So for example, one kid, small kid is walking through the road, the reaction what we put for that particular kid may be different. The mother may say, okay, it's he's going out of the home or something like that. Okay. But other may say, okay, they can say hi and all that. So each one we perceive the things in a different way. Now how that differs? If I put this as a data for me, data is same, but how we perceive and how we react is going to be different. Why? That is the again the complexity of our brain. Okay, so though if I call this as a data, so if I call this as a video or audio or a taste, smell, these are the data for me. But all these are binded by another concept, that is nothing but emotion attached to this. So this emotion is a very complex in nature. Okay, itself, this all are itself the data. If I put, they are also a complex data, but this complexity is again binded, or it has given a different dimension by the emotion attached to that. So the how we perceive depends on how we, what emotion do we have at that time. Okay, so the same information may not be perceived similar by the same person. Okay, do you agree? When you are, maybe when you, after a long time, if you went back to your home, whatever mother cooks, you may feel very nice, or you may be having a different opinion compared to the previous type. Okay, so the what you perceived at that time is depends on what is the emotion you have at that particular point. Same person may have a different emotion and they perceive it in different way. So this is known fact, but can we use this concept for programming? Okay, so ultimately, can I reprogram? Can I make use of this concept for my advantage or a positive way of kind of? Okay, so we have seen that there is one emotion, always there is an emotion attached to what we perceive or what we collect the data. Okay, so the question is, can we respond in a particular situation? Can we change that, the way we respond to a particular situation? Now let us put this into a function kind of. Okay, we are already aware of C++ programming. Can we have a function? So I put a situation as a function or event kind of. So I'm passing a thought as a parameters. I may have a different thought process, but ultimately how I react, it depends on what emotion I have, okay, at the end of that return value. So what exactly the how you behave or how you perceive or how you react to that is all depends on what is there within you. Okay, what is there already, preconditioned data is available. Do you agree? So that is how I can say it is a precondition. That means already stored data. Okay. So if you observe the small kid, when they don't have any existing data, they are always curious because they don't know what happens. Correct. So, but it is not true when we grow up, because we have already stored data for that particular information. Okay. So it will see whether we have already some data. So already if it is existing, we'll release those emotion or attach those emotion as the already we will try to put that as an emotion for that. So this, I'll take just one example here. There may be a you can apply it for any of your situation. So one example I just wanted to put as a, say you wanted to perform on a stage. Okay, there is a stage fear. Usually what happens when we go on the stage, we, though we prepared well, okay, we are not able to recollect or perform well on that time. Okay, because it may be the, when you see that the previous existing data, maybe that you have failed or you have some nervousness, you are not able to do that properly, or you are scared of going with the in front of the audience. Okay, so this is the data what you have already existing, so the emotion attached is being returned to this. Okay, so because of that, you, the moment you, your name is being called up, you are, you are prepared well, no doubt. Okay, but the moment you go on the stage, you will forget everything what you wanted to do. Okay, many of them we have faced like this. Now can we program this? Can we have a different reaction to this or emotion? Can we have a change in this, though we have the same data which is their existing data, but can I reprogram this? Yes, we can reprogram that. But how? Again, you should aware of how we store the data here. Okay, the data is already known that it is stored in a complex information or complex dimensionality. So if you want to change your how you want to react to this, you require to put a different video process. You require to put a certain thought process which is giving you the better video or audio or whatever, all these related data has to be changed. Okay, then only you can embed the information. The moment you embed that, your emotion is going to be filtered, it is going to be changed. Okay, so just to give an example here, if you're having a stage fear, say for example, I want to reprogram it. So you can close your eyes and just think of you are when the name is being called upon. Okay, so you are climbing on the steps or whatever. You could see all the judges or the crowd, whatever you have, and imagine that you perform very well, the best of whatever you have done. Okay, and all are clapping, that everyone is very much appreciating your thoughts. So you are just rebuilding that virtual reality, kind of. Okay, that is also possible. This is the many places, many research is going on in this case, where we are using the virtual reality to heal so many diseases or many psychological problems. Okay, so the virtual reality is nothing but you're changing all these content. Okay, so the moment you change this, the emotion attached to that. Okay, when you see yourself performing the best. Okay, so the emotion attached may be the happiness, or you feel very comfortable or happy for that. So that emotion is written to this. Okay, so when you actually go on the stage, you can recollect those thought process or emotion, and you can do more better than what you expected. So this is how you can think of a reprogramming or rechanging whatever you wanted to put in this emotion. It can be true for any of your exam fears or any kind of your placement issues or wherever you want to succeed. Okay, you have to think in a different form or create this emotion can be rechanged, but it requires some efforts from your side. Okay, so the effort is nothing but you require to sit and think around that. The thought process, what you're passing to this has to be changed. Okay. So again, lot of research is going on this, and where you can use a virtual reality and try to give a different positive thought process for the your brain. Okay. So just think of this. It will be helpful for most of your whatever the your student life. So use this concept, the brain programming, for your advantage, and try to think of always the thought is nothing but a charge. Okay, positive thought will give you increase your positivity or increase your activeness, where the negative thought always it's going to decrease. So you see, you always, whenever you go out of the home or something, you make sure your mobile is charged, your laptop is charged, everything is charged, but do you pay attention you are charged or not? So try to give a 2 minutes morning or whatever the time, just think of yourself and just put a positive affirmation for your thought process. So you just make use of this 10 minutes or 5 minutes of for yourself. That makes all the change in your life. Okay, so this is also already experimented, already taken all the successful men, if you see that already everyone is using this technique. So make use of this concept, it will be helpful for you. Okay, so with this thought process, we'll go for the our class. So when someone tells you it cannot be done, it's more a reflection of their limitation, not yours. Okay, so they perceive it differently, so they think in different. So it is not true always. Okay, so give a thought about that. And this is very powerful statement I liked also. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. Please give a time to yourself and think about this, and you can achieve more success. And I wish all of you do best in your life. Okay, so with this thought process, we'll go ahead in our class. Okay, so coming to our concept. Today's class, we will go with the copy constructor. Now, what is the copy constructor? We already know. A copy constructor is nothing but a function, member function. Okay, but it initializes an object. Remember, object using another object. Okay, copy constructor, copy itself. So I'm constructing, usually the constructor, we initialize the object. So copy constructor, the name itself suggests that it is, I'm copying the object here. Okay, so that's the reason. See this, the class name. So the name should be the constructor. It is a constructor for you. What is the parameters to this? It is nothing but a same class, and this is the object, okay, which is already created for you. Okay, so this is the how we have seen a kind of example on this. We'll talk more on this copy constructor today. Okay, now when copy constructor can be called, or when automatically the compiler is called, we'll see that. Okay, when an object of the class is passed. Okay, so object is passed. Okay, so as an argument in your function, so I have to take that as an object, correct? So I have to make a placeholder for that. See, understand, it is nothing but a memory, correct? So when I'm passing an argument as an object, so I have to receive this as an object itself, correct? So I have to create a placeholder for that. That's why we are creating a copy constructor. Okay, now when an object is constructed based on another object of the same class, say for example in previous questionnaire I put that T2 is equal to T1, so two objects I can make a equalize. Okay, so ultimately I'm trying to make a equal. How you make integer A is equal to integer B? I can make a object A is equal to same class. Okay, so object whatever we have, so I am trying to use a equal functionality in that. Okay, so that time again a copy constructor is being called. Or when a compiler generates a temporary object, this is especially for your functions. Okay, when I'm temporarily, I want to create a kind of object and just use it for within a function and return whatever the value I want to do. So these are the places where the copy constructor is being called. Okay, now let us see more on this. Okay, so there is a default copy constructor and user defined constructors. So you can think of two categories. So user defined, already in the programmer will define what should be done within that constructor. And as I told, in a temporary base, the function within a function or whenever object is received, this is default copy constructor is called by the compiler if you are not written any user defined. Okay, so first of all, preference is given to the user defined. If they are not defined, by default the compiler is going to call this default copy constructor. Okay, we'll see how they differ. Okay, what is the memory allocation is different for this. Okay, we'll see more on that. This is one example, very simple one. Okay, this is how I'll use a copy constructor. So what is done? There is a class which is declared as a point. So it has got a two variables x and y. So they are declared in a private area. Now the public one, we have a constructor here because it's the same as the whatever the class name. So this is the parameterized, where what I'm doing, I'm initializing some values to this particular member. Okay, now what is the another one? Observe this. Okay, again it is a constructor for me because it's the same as the class name, but what I pass to this, it's object of the same class. Okay, now what I'm trying to do, whatever I pass as object, its information is being copied to this values. Okay, so again you are trying to make a copy of that. Okay, so that is what it is done here. Okay, so there are two member function just to return the values. Okay, get x, and this is in a public domain, so you can access the private variable and get the return them. That is what is done. Okay, now what is interesting is here the point p1. So in this case it is a parameterized, so we are calling this particular constructor. In a second case, see, observe this point p2 is equal to p1. Now if you can do without this copy constructor also. Okay, so in this case the object is defined here. Okay, the what should be done in a copy is being defined, but it is you can see this in the another, if you have not defined also it works. Okay, there is no issues, but we'll see a difference in the way we call that. Okay, So what is done here? Very simple. This object copy is now put into this P2. So whenever I'm trying to print both the values, okay, P1 and a P2, get X and get Y, both will print the same values of whatever you have passed. In this case, it's a 10 and 15. So in both the cases, I'm printing the 10 and 15. Is it clear? It's very simple. Any doubt? Is it clear? Fine? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. No doubt.
Okay. But there is a lot of various way of what we see it in a memory way of memory, how they store it. Okay. So there are two types of copies. So we call this a shallow copy and a deep copy. Now, what do you mean by shallow copy here? Okay, shallow copy is nothing but when a default copy constructor, okay, it can produce only the shallow copy. So whenever a default copy constructor is, that means when the program, compiler generates by itself, okay, at that time the shallow copy is done. Okay, we'll see more example on that. So it is nothing but you're creating a copy of an object by just copying the data of all the member. Okay, but if you see the pointers or whatever the way when it is copies, it is it doesn't give a separate allocation, memory allocation. We'll see with the example. Okay, so remember there are two ways of copying: shallow copy and a deep copy. Okay, we'll take example. Now what do you observe here? There is a one class demo. Some parameter is being declared here. Okay, these are the data variable. Observe there are the variable which is in the form of data here, like integer, and this is a pointer for us. Okay, now what is this? This is a default constructor. You are initializing this particular pointer. Okay, so now what is done in this? Do you have a copy constructor in this particular program? Do you have a copy constructor? Yes.
There is no user defined copy constructor, but default will be there.
Yes, yes. So this is default constructor. Okay, make a difference. This is a default constructor, but there is no there is no user defined copy constructors. Okay, so this is a simple program. You are setting the data and showing the data here. Okay, but observe here, the moment you call demo d1, so first you will see whether there is a default constructor with this d1, and here you have here, so it will be called here in this particular. So the memory is initialized, everything is fine. So you are setting the data here, okay, some values to this. Okay, now the moment you call this demo d2 equal to d1, now what you are passing to this, it is nothing but object is made equal to another object, same class. Okay, so it is nothing but copy constructor will be called for this, but it will see there is no user defined copy constructor, so it will call, the compiler will call the default one. Okay, so default copy constructor is called, and it will be assigned these values. Okay, so when you print this, obviously it is going to print these values, there is no doubt. Okay, so if you observe, it is going to print this. Why? Because you are nothing but you are printing here shows. Though you set the data with this, you are accessing the show data by the d2. Okay, and whatever you stored is there. But if you see how the memory is stored, or how the whatever the copy of that is being kept, it is going to be different. So in this case, d1 and d2 is made equal. So these objects are created, but the pointer, whenever, especially for the pointer, you are not creating a separate location. Both are pointing to this. Now, how it makes a difference? Say, for example, your destructor, especially when you create a destructor, say, for example, the moment you delete this particular D1 is out of the scope, this D2 memory also removed. Okay, because it's a shallow copy. We call this as a shallow copy. Okay, we'll see more when we go for the next example. But remember, here, what is the difference? I have not created the user-defined copy constructor is missing. Okay. Okay. So what happens here? That's what we have already seen that. So the same memory is copied. They are being pointed by the both the pointers here. Okay, so there is no one more copy of that, is because you are trying to make a D2 equal to D1. You are not, you have to create a separate memory location for D2 and separate memory location for D1, but that is not happening here. Both are pointing to the one memory location. Okay, so that is called as a shallow copy. Okay, but the moment you define user, the user defined constructor is there, then we make a different object. Object is different, but the content of the memory is not separate here. Okay, so both are pointing the same memory allocation. So this is done with a deep copy. Now what will be the difference in the program? We'll see that. Okay, so this basically, the deep copy refers to the where you are using your user defined constructor, copy constructor basically. Okay, so it allocates the memory for a copy and then copies the actual value for this. So there is a placeholder for both the objects. Okay, separate copies are there in this case. Okay, so the source and a copy, whatever, you have a distinct place for that. That is where the deep copy refers here. So just to, sorry, just put this here. Okay, so it is a double copy. While copying, I think I've done a mistake. Is it visible? Is it visible?
No, ma'am.
The slide is visible, or is the PPT, whatever the PowerPoint application is visible to you?
Nothing visible. All we can see is like names of different people on the screen.
Okay, 1 minute. I'll share again. Once again. Are you able to see now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in this example, what is done here, you observe now, in a previous case, it's the same as the previous example. This was the default your constructor. But what is this one? It's a your user defined copy constructor. Copy constructor, because I'm trying to give a object of the same class to the same constructor. This is a constructor. So this is called as a copy constructor. And this is a user defined. Now what you're trying to do it in this, whatever you're passing the object, its information is explicitly you're saving, you are creating a values or placeholder for that. Okay, so you're creating this information, so you are making a copy of that object. Whenever you send it to this, you're creating one more placeholder, separate placeholder for the whatever you're going to create for this particular return value. Okay, so that is missing in a previous example. So the set data, show data remains same. There is no change in that. Okay, again the way you invoke the program is also remains same. You created object, so this is going to come here, and you're setting the data. It is going to go here and create all these, and again you are just assigning to this. Okay, the moment you call in a previous one, it is just the default copy constructor is being invoked. Okay, so this part is missing in a previous case, but in now when it is called this particular information, we are making another placeholder, the separate placeholder for D2. Okay, so the moment we do this or return this, this is how the memory is going to be changed. Okay, so in a previous case, both are holding the same, pointing to the same values, but now I'll be pointing to the different, because I'm creating a separate placeholder for D2 or a D. Is it clear for you? Is it fine?
Ma'am, but we are also allocating the memory in the constructor also, right?
Constructor we are allocating, but we are not assigned the values to this. This assignment happens here, right? Set data.
That is okay.
Pointer is there. This is just I'm creating a value, but what it is pointing to, what value it is in a previous case, and not assigned this particular information.
Ma'am, what I'm saying is in the copy constructor, why do we have to assign again a new memory element, new memory location?
I need not, okay. But if I require to have a separate location, memory location, especially for dynamic memory allocation, we'll see that, okay. I want a separate memory. Otherwise, when I delete this particular, in a previous case, if you see, when I delete one copy, so D1 is deleted, this D2 is going to remove its whatever existence because it is a shallow copy for me. You are just pointing. See, one memory location is there. I'm just having a pointer attached to that. I don't have a another placeholder for that. Did you get? It's a temporary location. You are just assigned the pointer value to that. You are not reallocated a memory, separate memory for that. That is where the difference between a shallow copy and a deep copy is going to come from. Am I able to clear your doubt?
Okay, ma'am, I understood.
In the shallow, when the copy constructor is called, default one is called, this is not done explicitly, okay. So what happens, especially for the pointers or some other cases, it is just the address, okay. So in the case of that, it is pointing the same address. So if I delete one object, this existence also is going to be removed for that, okay. But that is not true in the case when we do a separate allocation like this, because now it is a user-defined what do you say, copy constructor.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, just to confirm, like if we have not, if we have not defined the copy constructor,
Okay.
the copy constructor is not there, and I am defining my object like this: demo D1
Okay.
and D1 set data 457
Okay.
and demo D2, and in the next line I am saying D2 is equals to D1.
Yes, this line, right? D2 equal to D1 you are making.
Demo D2 colon. Ma'am, in the next line I am saying D2 is equals to D1.
You're creating an object here, right?
Yes, ma'am. So in this case,
listen,
I will.
Listen. No. Listen. See, if you just put I'll just put this demo D2, you just put a semicolon for this, correct? If you're putting a semicolon here, then this particular information is being called here, okay? You're calling this particular information.
So,
okay?
ma'am, new memory element will be assigned to the. Yes. Okay, ma'am.
It depends on how you call also, okay. Now in this case I'm not going to this, actually I'm just calling the copy constructor, because I'm just object of this is being assigned directly without creating D2 here.
Yes, ma'am, understood.
Any other doubt? Is it clear? So in a copy constructor, this is the some question MCQ they may ask, okay. Shallow copy. Now in certain set of instruction they may give you, and they say whether there is a shallow copy or the deep copy. So don't be worried. It is nothing but if you have a user-defined constructors, a copy constructor where you are assigning a separate memory location, then it will be deep copy. Otherwise, if it is called by the compiler or default copy constructor is called, then it is a shallow copy for you. Okay. So just remember that will be the useful for your when you go for a dynamic memory. We'll see that more on that. Okay. So this is the one comparison which I found in the internet only. So I thought it will be useful for you. Okay. So you can go through this. It is nothing but you are overloaded a constructor. That is true. Copy constructor is nothing but that. Okay. So initializing your object, the placeholder is created for this. So in this case, you are writing all the constructor and what should happen in this case. So it is invoked when a new object is initialized with the existing object. Remember this. It is initialized with the existing, or you are trying to make a initializing using a existing one. Okay. Then the object is passed an argument to the function or returns the object. Okay. So in all these conditions, this copy constructor is being called. Okay. Both the existing object and a new object shares a different memory location. This is an important point compared to the your shallow copy kind of. Okay. So in a previous the just assignment, when we call the default this one, we will use the existing object is equal to the new object shares the same memory location. Okay. This is a shallow copy for us. So when it will be invoked, this is if a programmer does not define a copy constructor, the compiler will automatically generate a implicit default copy constructor. Okay, so this is nothing but you are calling that, it will be called. But if you don't assign, this is for the equality, equal assignment operator. So we can't overload. This is not the overloading. So there is, you require to put a another concept for that. Okay, so this is basically if you define the copy constructor, then it will be invoked. Otherwise, it will not be invoked, or it is a default copy constructor is being used here. Okay, I hope it is clarified. Any doubt, you can always put a question. Okay, so with that thought, we'll go for the next concept. That is nothing but dynamic memory allocation. We'll see more on your all these dynamic memory allocation. We have seen one problem in the last previous to that. So we'll see more on that. Okay. So usually the C program is divided, your memory, okay, is divided into two parts. Okay, stack and a heap. In a stack, all the variable declared within this function, or whenever the function is changing from one function, when you're calling a different functions, will make use of the stack. If you have already done an example with your data structure, you may be already having this concept. Stack is nothing but we are using it for pushing the data and taking out the data kind of. So push and pop is used, but it is mainly used for function change, or when I'm calling a different functions, or I'm using some arithmetic operations, or kind of where I have to see the precedence or what to be done kind of. So this is another the dynamic memory. When I'm referring, it is I'm referring to this heap. Okay, so this is unused memory where you have bulk memory is available, but I have to make use of that. So the new kind of, there is a keyword, will be using that. Okay, so this is at the runtime. I can create the memory at the runtime. That is why we call this as a dynamic memory allocation. And we use it by the new operator. To create a particular information, we use a new. And if I want to delete this, then we use a keyword. It's a delete operator. Okay, so this new can be attached. The C, it is already there available in a C programming. Okay, you maybe already used this. So new is not new. That keyword may not be there, but it is nothing but your malloc, or you are assigning the values there. Okay, so this in the C++. So this is how the general way of declaring. Any data can be dynamically initialized by the keyword new. Okay, so in this case, it can be data type, can be your integer data type, or any your user defined, say, objects or something like that, or it can be already the predefined data types also. Okay, now this is a one example where you declared this as a one pointer. Okay, so you're just making a pointer and you initialize to this null, say for example. Then you are assigning some value to this. Okay, so you are allocating the memory. You are trying to make a memory for the variable. Okay, so if you want to release this, then you are using this kind of delete. Delete is a keyword for that. So whatever variable you want to delete, release the memory, you have to proceed with the keyword delete. Okay, so it is already there. Your C++ provides a same malloc can be used in a C++ also, but it is more not preferred. Okay, so we use in a C++ this new and a delete to create any your dynamic memory allocation. Okay, so it is nothing but it is you are allocating a bulk of data, or a kind of bulk data, and trying to release also in a similar fashion. Okay, we'll see that. And how it is different from the destructor. Okay, what happens in a destructor also, we'll see that. Okay, so this is one simple example, very simple example. Okay, so what is done, if you see this, it's a class. There is one class which I've defined, and some constructor is being called for this. So I'm creating an object for this. Okay, I'm trying to initially, there is nothing, it's a simple, very simple class here. Okay, so the object. So what is done here, you can see this. I want to create 4 objects. okay, array of objects basically, but I'm trying to use a keyword new. So I'm using a dynamic memory allocations. Okay, so say for example, new box, whenever I create, I'm creating it's an array for me. So it is a continuous memory allocation is done for this, depending on how many data memory, whatever I require here. So, but I have created, and array is defined by your starting value will be the address, whatever I have refer by this particular variable name. Okay. Now, what is the question when when the particular scope of this is being removed? Okay, the scope is out this program. Whenever the program goes out of the scope, this memory is retained. Okay, until you use this particular keyword. Okay, that is the difference between when we create an object without the new and when we create an object with the new kind of keyword. So remember, whenever you create a memory with the new keyword and you require to use, say whenever when the destructor, remember, think this line is not there. Okay, so this line is not there. Whenever I return 0, come out of this program, your destructor will be called. Okay, usually the destructor is called and you are releasing those memories when we have not put a new in. Okay, so the array values will be removed. But since I have used a new here and I've created a box or the variable, the array in this case, this whenever destructor is called, this particular array is not released. Okay, so what you require to do, you require to add one more line telling that whatever you created in this is going to be deleted by the end of this program. So by doing so, you can utilize the memory, available memory efficiently. So remember, whenever you're trying to create a dynamic memory, make sure you delete those, release those memories also. Okay, otherwise it will be kept as it is until you are explicitly you have to clear that. That is the importance there. Okay, now let us go for the next one. Okay, this is nothing but your operator overloading. So what is this operator? You might have already done the constructor overloading, we have seen, and we have seen the function overloading. So operator overloading is again one more dimension to that. So the name itself suggests that operator. So what are the operators? Say positive, plus, minus, or any kind of operator which you can use it. You will see more on that. So we can change what it has to do, or we can add some more complexity to that, or we can add its ability to do the things. Okay, so what is the difference between operator functions and a normal function? First, maybe we'll try to make a difference with this. So the operator functions are same as normal. Okay, but what is the difference? We have to use a keyword operator and a symbol of operator which you want to overload. Okay, so you are using now the keyword operator. Okay, remember, and a symbol, say plus. If you want to overload, then that symbol has to be precede. After this, you should have a plus in your program. Okay, when you write a function name. Okay, so that is the how you will be making a difference between a normal function and an operator. So this is a simple example where you have created the return type is there and there is a function name and these are the parameters. This is a normal function for us. Okay, now what is the change? You can see it here. It is a return type and a keyword operator and what you wanted to load. Okay, with what you want to change. So this is a symbol of the operator. Okay, then this particular parameter. So if you compare these two, it has got to be start with the operator as the name. Okay, keyword has to be put. So this is a normal function and this will be the operator function, or I can overload. We call this as overload because already this symbol, the operators or whatever we are using has particular functionality is being attached to that. But the user can define or modify that information or capabilities by doing this operator overloading. Okay, so already some function is attached to this, but I can change that capability. Okay, so that is why it is known as operator overloading. Now let us take a example. It's a I think most of you, if you see any of the books, it is the simple example. This is the usual example what we see. So usually the complex number, whenever I say a complex number, I have two parameters. One is the real part and the imaginary part. So obviously the plus, when I do the addition of any number, it is always supported with a one variable. So a plus b I can do, but I can't do at a time because this object has two parts for that. So I want to execute whenever I do a complex a plus complex b kind of, I want to add real part with the real part, imaginary with the imaginary part. So that facility is not there with the one which we use a symbol plus. Okay. So in this program, we are trying to execute that. Okay. So if you observe here, it is a constructor. So you are making, what is this concept called as? Though it is a constructor, you have something here. What is this? Can you name? What is this kind of information? There is a name for this. Can anybody recollect?
Parameterized.
It is a parameterized, but in the parameterized, I'll just use a int r comma int I. That is fine. But I have equal to 0. That is some name is there for that. What is that?
Default constructor.
No, it is not default constructor. Default constructor should not have any parameter at all. Yes?
This is constructor overloading.
Yes, it is a constructor overloading. It is a parameterized constructor, no doubt. But these values you are assigning, if the value is not passed to this, correct? If we call this as a default arguments, okay? So the name is a constructor. This is a parameterized constructor with a default arguments. Argument because these are the parameters to that, okay? So what exactly it is saying, if I don't pass it, say for example, I'll make complex C1, that's all. Then both the int r and I is assigned to 0, 0. This is the default argument what we do, okay? So this is, we have seen in a last class. So this is how it is done. Okay, so in this case, what you are trying to do, if it is passed, you are passing the value, setting those value to r here, whatever they passed, and imaginary to the I, whatever. And if it is not passed, you are trying to assume this values here. Okay, so we call this as a default argument for the constructor. Okay, now this is the another change in this. Again, you see what it returns. It is a complex because I'm going to add the particular information and I'm going to call assign to particular value. Okay, so this is a return type. This is the operator keyword, and what I'm overloading is a plus here. And what I'm passing, it is different. It depends on your programming capability, what I pass it to here. Okay. So it need not be always the class here. I can pass it to anything here. Okay. So this is a parameter for me. Now observe complex res. So I'm creating an object holder here. Do you agree? I'm not once I come out of this function, I'm releasing this, correct? So this is here where you are creating your default constructor. So, okay. So default constructor is done, but what is the, see this, then result of whatever real, nothing but the whatever object you are in, which object, through which object you called, it's real, and object which you passed. Okay, it's real is being added here, and it is being set, and it is being returned to this. Okay, so this is a functionality what is done here, and you're printing. Now coming to this particular execution. So whenever you call this particular C1 and a C2, so it will match with the whatever the definition of a constructor. So it will be diverting to this. Okay. Now observe this complex C1. Okay. C3, sorry, complex C3 is equal to C1 plus C2. So you are performing C1 plus C2. But observe, I'm not called as C1 dot. Okay, remember the operator overloading, when I execute this, whatever through which I'm invoking this plus is going to be passed here. This real, the value is nothing but a C1's real value, and the what you passed is nothing but a C2 in this. Though in a member function, if you remember, if I call a member function, I'll be invoking by C1 dot add or something like that. Okay, the object dot that particular member function. But that is a difference when I call the operator overloading. Here explicitly it will take by itself through which you are invoking this plus. Okay, so remember this. So whenever I called the C1 is the object through which I'm calling this plus here. Okay, this operator overloading part, and what is being passed is nothing but an argument to this. Okay, is it clear? Is it fine? So once I return this, it is nothing but a complex data. Now at this point, you can see a copy constructor is being called here. Okay, I'm not defined any copy constructor here. So it will be a temporary default copy constructor is being called. Can you able to recollect the copy constructor concept? So here I'm not defined a user defined copy constructor. So there is the compiler will generate because I'm creating a complex object and I'm assigning to this. Okay, so a copy constructor default will be called and it will be assigned to this, and I'm trying to print for it. Is it clear? Fine. Are you able to make a note of what you have to note in the operator overloading? Is first one is the keyword what you are assigning. It is a default. You require to use operator, then followed by the symbol which you want to do the changes. Okay, whenever we call that. Okay, and the way you call that, it is not object dot, which is the usual way of calling a function, any function. But in the case of operator overloading, we just call by C1 plus C2. Okay, it is understood that it is a C1 is the calling object and C2 is a passed object to that. Okay, so this is important one compared to the ordinary or normal functions, the way we call it. Okay, is it fine? Is it clear for you? Yes, student?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that is for the operator overloading. This is also most of the MCQ will be asked in this, where I give whether this snippet, the kind code snippet they give, and see whether it is right or wrong or something, identify the error kind of. Okay, so be careful how it is being called and what is the keyword has to be attached to that and how it will be invoked in this case. Okay, so this is one more example which I'll be giving you here. It need not be always defined within a class. Okay, your operator overloading in a previous case, you have seen the function which we operator overloading we have done, it is within the class. It's a member function for us. Okay, but I can use this concept as a friend also. Okay, so in this case you can see there is a complex, same concept, same example I have taken. This is same as the previous one what we have done, and there is a print function. Okay, but this particular friend complex operator, so what I've done, I have attached one more keyword, friend. Okay, I'm passing two component, two object of a same class. Okay, so the return type, this much up to this it's the same, but I'm not defined this information or whatever what it should do, not within the your complex function. Okay, sorry, class. Why? Friend, the declaration, when I do a declaration as a friend, this whatever the way we define the function has to be outside this particular class. Okay, now observe here, it is not attached to the complex here. How it is attached? The scope resolution is not there, so it is attached through this keyword friend. Okay, so the scope resolution, this can be used by another class also. If I define that also friend for that. Okay, so this is not a member function. The friend, the function is not a member function, but it is associated by the keyword friend here. Okay. Now again, in this case, the concept is same, but how it is invoked or how it is being used is a different. That's it. Okay. So here I'm passing two variables to this. Okay. Previously we used only one variable, and we use the real plus whatever we have seen in the previous case. Okay. Now whatever object is passed, its real part is being added in one line only. I'm trying to do it here, comma, and imaginary part of both the objects are being added, and it is being written as a complex here. But observe now change in this. Is there any change in the way we call? There is no much change. Okay. So what is done again? You have created two objects, C1 and a C2. And you are trying to whatever is performed is being assigned to the complex C3. Okay, the moment you call this, okay, C1 plus C2. Okay, now how it is invoked here? This plus operator, it will see this operator plus. Okay, this plus is being overloaded with two objects as a parameters to this. So it will take C1 plus C2 here. Okay, those becomes a parameters to this. Okay, and then it returns as a complex. So this complex value is being assigned to C3. Again, your default copy constructor is being invoked, and we are trying to store the values for C3, and it is being printed here. Okay, so if you see the main program, it is the same. Okay, similar way, there is no much change. Okay, but here there is a change. So I have declared this particular operator overloading out of the class with a defining this as a friend of this. So since it is a friend, it can access the private values, even the public values also. Is it clear? Is it fine? So the operator overloading can be done within the class definition or out of that with the friend also. So you can make use of this operator overloading for many classes, no issues. Okay, so that is the how the power of your operator can be changed. Is it clear for you? Any doubt? Fine.
No doubt, ma'am.
Okay. Now let us see, can I overload all of the operator? Okay, it is not so. There are, remember, this is the most time it will be asked. So in MCQ or something like that, it is not true that all the operator I can overload. There is some restrictions. Basically the dot, okay, because it's object reference, object dot I'm trying to do. This definition is not going to be changed, and this is a scope resolution for whatever dot or to call this one. So this is nothing but you are used for scope resolution. This has not been you can't overload this. This is mainly for if else condition. Okay, this is a shortcut kind of if else I can use it. If this is true, do this. If this is true, do that, or false, do this kind of. Okay, so this is the symbol, whatever operator we use for that. And the size of is basically the keyword where we can't use it for the some other operation. So remember, all the operator I can't overload. There are some restrictions on that. Other than that, we can always overload the functionalities, and we can increase the capability of the operator, what it is obvious to do. Okay, so especially when we do the addition, subtraction, multiplication, when I have got object with respect to different memory allocation, I have a complex memory allocation for that, and I want to increase that capability, say for example, then I can use always this operator overloading to do the more capabilities compared to the preliminary or already the compiler defined capabilities. So that is about the operator overloading. Okay, is it fine? Is it clear? Any questions in this? Fine.
No doubts, ma'am.
Okay. So today's we'll just stop the class for this. So we have covered the most of the things. Say for example, constructors and destructor. We have seen the copy constructor, and even the your memory allocations, which is for the your most of the dynamic memory allocation, as well as the your operator overloading, which will be used in many of the next coming classes. Okay, so we have some more concept which has to be dealt in the next classes. Is it fine? Any doubt you can pose that. Otherwise, we can conclude the class, today's class. Yes. Is there any particular question you were confused, or you want more clarification? You can let me know so that in next class I can put a more examples on that.
No doubts, ma'am.
Students, other students, they are very quiet, right? They are not participating much. Feel free, you can always, maybe your concepts are known to you, but put effort, okay? So though it is known to you, don't neglect the subject. You can score well in this. So don't neglect, okay? Only you require to jot down important points and just keep on trying on that. Are you using any kind of software for this, executing this C program? May I know which editor you are using, or kind of? Anybody tried some examples? C++, you may be done already, but let me know which editor you are using for this.
Ma'am, I'm using VS Code.
That I think always it supports many things, right? In that, yeah. And other than that, anybody? Most of you are using that only?
Ma'am, there are a few online compilers.
Oh, you send it and it will get it compiled and get it done, kind of?
Yes.
But okay, small code, it is fine. Okay. What is the name? Which website through which you want? But usually you got all the free compilers are available to you, right? Why you want to send it
Yes,
to?
ma'am, I'll download Visual Studio soon.
It is better always. Okay. Okay. Any other? Did you try other compilers? Yes. Are you students? Are you making note of or are you executing some program? It looks very simple, okay? But when you execute, you will make one code blocks we use. I do use that. If you make one mistake in your semicolon or colon, then it will give hundreds of errors for that. So make a practice of writing a code, okay? Though it looks very simple, okay? Though it is you already know in maybe in earlier semester or something like that, but make a habit of coding. Always it gives you better. Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you for attending this class. So if you have any particular questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll conclude. Thank you.
Ma'am, could you please upload the PPTs for the last 3 classes?
Recording is there. What else you want in that?
No, ma'am, the slides that you are going through right now.
Oh, because what happened, the slide, though it is a slide, when I click on that, it is going to some other, maybe I require to put them in order. Okay, I'll put that. Okay. I'm not done that way. You understood, no? When I click particular this, it is linked to some other date,
Yes, ma'am.
maybe the Word document or something like that. So I'll just try to put it in a PPT form. Okay, I'll do it. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
How about the video recording? Are you able to access? Any issues?
No, ma'am, no issues.
I think last class, did I do given access? I don't remember. I'll do it. Okay. If there is some access, only some classes they can, the one which I have assigned the class will be getting the directly link. Otherwise, other class I have to pass that this one, I think so. Correct. I'll do it. I'll do it today. Yeah. Any other issues in accessing? Let me know. I will clarify that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.